Greetings, students. We are now going to talk about noun positions. Hopefully you have your graphic organizer in front of you and you can begin filling it out as we go over each slide. So, noun positions simply are nouns that are used in special parts of a sentence, and each noun, because of where it is used in the sentence, will have a particular job. Just like a baseball team, each noun is determined by the position that it is in. So you can be a baseball player, but you're not only a baseball player, you might be a first baseman, second baseman, third baseman. It's all determined by the position that you're playing. So let's look at the different noun positions. The first one we have is the subject. Obviously, this noun is going to act as the subject of the sentence. Next, we have the direct object. This is going to be receiving the action within the sentence, like you've seen before. Then we also have indirect objects. These are receiving the direct object, but are also nouns. We have the object of the preposition, which you have seen before, and these will follow a preposition. And finally, we have a predicate nominative, and these are particularly used with linking verbs. Noun positions are all about simply where a noun is being used in a sentence. Look for clues within the sentence that will help lead you to the correct position. Here are the clues, and you can fill this out on your graphic organizer. First of all, what is the subject? Once you find the subject, then you already have one of the noun positions, but you might have more nouns in the sentence. So let's look at some other questions to ask after you find out what the subject is to figure out if you have more nouns in that sentence. Ask yourself, is the subject doing something or being something? And this will help you find whether or not you have an action verb or a linking verb. If the subject is doing something, then you have an action verb. So you need to look for a direct object, or whatever is receiving the action. Then look to see if there is a noun in between the action verb and the direct object. If there is, it is an indirect object. So direct objects will only follow action verbs, and then the indirect object will be in between your action verb and your direct object. Now let's go back to that question, is the subject doing something or being something? If the subject is being something, you have a linking verb. So you want to look for what that subject is being, and that will be your predicate nominative. You can almost think of a linking verb as being an equal sign, saying the subject is equal to whatever the noun is that you're labeling it. And don't forget about objects of the preposition. Look for the sentence and look for any prepositions that you have. Any noun that follows a preposition is going to be an object of the preposition. And those words that follow the prepositions, you might have an adjective, but there's always going to be a noun after it somewhere, and that would be your object of the preposition. Alright, since a noun position is determined by how a noun is being used in a sentence, the same word can be seen doing every position. So we're going to take a look at the noun squirrel and see it used as all of the different noun positions. This is just to show an example that any noun can be used in most of the noun positions. We're going to be looking at the word squirrel. Here it is being used as the subject of the sentence. The squirrel scurried up the tree in pursuit of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That sounds delicious. Notice that squirrel is the subject of the sentence and therefore goes with the verb scurried. Subjects typically will be at the beginning of the sentence, yes. However, what you need to make sure of is that it is going with the main verb of the sentence. That's how you know that you have the subject. I hope there's not any kryptonite acorns around. Now we'll see the word squirrel as a direct object. Yesterday, a man shot my favorite squirrel, but luckily he missed. Now when we see squirrel here, it's being used as a direct object. So remember those questions. What's your subject? Your subject here is going to be man. What did the man do? The man shot. What did he shoot? Squirrel. That's how you know squirrel is the direct object. It follows that action verb, but also it's receiving the action. In this case, shot. He is ready if the man tries to shoot him again. Next up we have, you guessed it, the indirect object. Here's our example sentence. The best gift for a squirrel is music. That's why I gave this squirrel a banjo. Right? Once again, what you're going to have to do for this one is you're going to have to use those clues. What's the subject? Now look at, you're only looking at the second part of the sentence. Or I'm sorry, there are two sentences. You're looking at the second sentence. That's why I gave this squirrel a banjo. Subject for this is I. What did you do? I gave. What did I give? I gave a banjo. So that's the direct object. That banjo is the direct object. But if I ask the question, who did I give the banjo to? I can answer squirrel. Notice that squirrel is in between gave, which is the action verb, and banjo, which is the direct object. That is why it's an indirect object. If the word squirrel was not in between the action verb and the direct object, it would no longer be a direct object. In fact, let me give you an example. Let's say I changed that part to that's why I gave a banjo to the squirrel. I've now moved squirrel after banjo, and I put the word to in front of it, which would make it an object of the preposition. I'm not trying to confuse you, but I'm just showing you there's a way to check and make sure you do have an indirect object. It's all about that noun being in between your action verb and your direct object. Now all we need is a chipmunk with a fiddle, a badger with a guitar, and a possum with a little brown jug, and we could have a woodland hillbilly critter hoedown. Up next we have dun dun dun, predicate nominative. Last year for Halloween, my friend Elisa was a squirrel. Right? Remember that a predicate nominative only comes after a linking verb. In this case, after the linking verb was. The predicate nominative is the word being linked to the subject. So Elisa is being linked to the squirrel, almost like saying Elisa is equal to a squirrel. Now remember, go back and use those clues. What's the subject? The subject is Elisa. Is Elisa doing something or being something? She's being. What's she being? A squirrel. So that's how you know this is a predicate nominative. Now your linking verb is was, so it's almost like saying Elisa is equal to a squirrel. I don't have anything funny to say about this. It's actually just sad. She truly was a squirrel last year for Halloween. Lastly, we have the object of the preposition. If you ever see your friend with a squirrel, politely tell them to put it down before they go nuts. All right? Acting as an object of the preposition, the noun will simply follow a preposition. Remember those words that prepositions are. Okay? These are with and from and before and after. And the clue to knowing that you're seeing a preposition is it a lot of times give a direction, or it'll tell a time, or it'll say with, and basically the noun will follow that preposition. You might have an adjective in there describing the noun, but it'll always have a noun after it somewhere, and that's going to be your object of the preposition. Here we have Obi-Wan Squirrel Obi and Anakin Branch Walker and Yoda. Can't really think of a clever squirrel name for Yoda. I guess that'll do. All right, so once again, here are the notes for looking for clues of how to identify these different noun positions. Just remember, what is the subject? That's one. Is the subject doing something or being something? If it's doing, go down the path of looking for an action verb. If it's being something, go down the path of looking for that linking verb, and that'll lead you to a predicate nominative. And then finally, don't forget to look for any prepositions in the sentence. If you have one, then you have an object of the preposition. Don't forget to go through the sentence and look for those. All right, that is all consider yourself smarter. Hope you had a few laughs. Maybe you popped some popcorn, had some tears. You know, sometimes the pictures can be a little sad, and sometimes learning that Mr. Cown's friends have dressed up as squirrels for Halloween is disturbing, and I'm sorry for that. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and you can watch this as many times as you want.